What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Break Room, brought to you by The Life of Gaming. Water cooler conversation in your face.
Nice.
So, hopefully you guys have been enjoying this show. You know, we've been putting this out, seeing what kind of reaction we get. By the way, if you have other topics you'd like us to hit, let us know in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe. We would absolutely love that. We just passed 200 subscribers, so we're pretty pumped and excited about that. We just want to keep on growing the channel. So, if you like it, subscribe. If you already subscribed, have your friends subscribe. Just keep on rolling.
Just keep creating YouTube accounts and subscribe with those accounts. It's fine. It's all good.
Right. Okay. But to kind of kick things off with the break room today, one of the things going on in the world of video games, a little game called Mass Effect Andromeda came out.
Oh man, I've heard about this. Yes.
It's a little indie game you may have heard of. I'm
this
not
is
sure.
like a science puzzle game, right?
Right.
Like
It's kind of like The Witness,
physics-based puzzle game.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, first of all, Mass Effect, the original trilogy, there was a lot for this game to live up for. And I feel like no matter what it did, because I don't think was it an all-new team that built this one? I can't remember. But reviews started coming in. And the game is sitting at a 74% on Metacritic. And a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, I am not going to buy this game. It's a major disappointment. And just even without playing it, without playing demos or anything of it, it said 74%. Nope, that's too low. I'm not going to play it. And part of the reason, they said, some of the worlds are empty, or, there's some funky facial animations, some other crazy things going on. But that kind of brought a question to my mind. It had to do with review scores. Because I know with review scores, everybody kind of has their own, scale of what they think is okay. And I guess my first question, when did anything, in the 70s become a bad game, do not buy?
Sure.
Because, it's so funny because, fives, fours, bad game. Totally get it. And there are some sixes and seven, or, fives and sixes, depending on the game, could be somewhat enjoyable for what they are. But, first of all, a 74% is not that bad.
No, it's not. I just real quick. I just looked up just so we can put a little bit of context here. So Metacritic has Mass Effect 1 sitting at an 89, Mass Effect 2 sitting at a 96, and Mass Effect 3 sitting at a 93. So you're talking about Mass Effect 1 and 89, 2 and 3 are both in the 90s, and then a drop way down to the 70s. So yeah, so
Sure.
while you say this, while you say 70% is not bad,
Mm-hmm.
I think the contrast there though is very telling of what fans expected out of the game.
Sure.
And what they got. So so that helps a little bit. But review scores in general, right? You hear the old slogan, "Beauty's in the eye of the beholder," right?
Right.
And that just simply means that something that's maybe beautiful to you is not beautiful to maybe somebody else, and that's just because you are the one that it matters to. And that's kind of how this goes with this too. And we can talk about Mass Effect a little bit. We
Sure.
talked about it on our last podcast, and it's definitely not a bad game, but there is for sure some the vocal minority really kind of up in arms about this game not living up to what they expected
Right.
a sequel to live up to. And so it's an interesting dichotomy. You've been talking on the messaging on our chat about ReCore.
Right. Yes.
And so ReCore is another one of
Really
those
enjoy it.
games. Yeah, ReCore's another one of the games that I really liked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it when it came out. I was a pretty big champion of that game leading up to its fall release. But reviews hit that game really hard too.
Yeah,
and it did not sell well.
Right.
At all.
It's kind of interesting. Now, I will say, what's the average review score of that? Because I don't have it in front of me. I'm not really sure.
Well, you talk,
But-
I'll look.
Right. Because here's the thing with ReCore. Like, to me, I don't know what the score was for it off the top of my head, but I would say that is like a 7 out of 10 game.
ReCore's sitting at a 63.
Okay. But like honestly, I'm really enjoying that game. Now I'm up to like the final part of the game, and there's a place you have to go back to and kind of dig around through dungeons and things like that. They kind of hit you like a brick wall because you don't really see it's coming, so it's kind of frustrating there. And yeah, the load times are bad, but the universe is fun. The characters are great. The gameplay is great. Like a lot of the dungeons are like 3D platforming puzzles and stuff, and like it's great. Like I'm having a
Yeah.
really fun time with this game. And I mean, sure, I'm almost done with it, and I'm only like 8 hours, right? So it's not a super huge game, but honestly, I'd probably give it in the sevens. So I'm actually kind of surprised to hear it's at a 63. I mean, that's pretty low.
Yeah.
Now, let's actually spring off from there. What would you say is once it drops below this number, I'm not going to play it? For you, what's kind of like that rock bottom that you're not going to go past?
Um, I don't know that I have that number. And this kind of goes back to what we were really kind of talking about, which is it's all in who plays the game. I mean, if you were to ask me, ReCore is definitely not a 63
Right.
On an average scale of 100. I mean, I would put it in probably the high sevens. The high 70s, maybe even like 80. I mean, I really like ReCore.
Yeah,
It
it's
does
a great game.
does a
It's
lot of
really
stuff
fun.
that I really like. Now, do I think there's flaws? Yeah, of course. I mean, we've been playing a lot of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild,
Yes.
and it's not a perfect game, but it is definitely a masterpiece. Now, ReCore is definitely not that,
No.
but even flaws aside, you can enjoy a game. I think of games like I really love the Lego games. We've been talking about this a lot
Yeah.
lately. I'm a huge fan of Lego games. I'm really pumped for Lego City Undercover coming to, Lego City Undercover coming
Oh, yeah,
to
right.
coming to Switch. But most of those games, I mean, those Lego games normally get in the like high 60s, low 70s. But if you were to ask me, I mean, most of those games for me are high 80s. I mean, I absolutely love them. So, if a game starts hovering around 4 or 5, I tend to definitely take caution.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but for me, it's a lot of like I really want to kind of get my hands on the game, and this actually kind of speaks to a bigger issue that we're not seeing nowadays, which is demos.
Oh, yeah, right. I didn't think about
Last
that.
generation, the 360 was great. Every arcade game had to have a demo. That was a
Mm-hmm.
requirement. And but even a lot of the retail releases that they had had demos too. And there were a lot of games that would come out that I would play, and I actually ended up liking. Due to that. So a lot of times it's just getting your hands on a game.
Right. And speaking of like 40 and 50%, you really don't see that much. I mean, honestly, most of what you
Yeah.
see is 70 and above, right, on a 100
Yeah.
point scale.
Yeah.
And so, is the problem that to reviewers like 70 is the new 50, or is it that we're getting like games aren't really like bad anymore? They're just mediocre. I mean, what do you think is the main problem here? Because, like you said, I never would have guessed ReCore was in the low 60s. No, never. I would have guessed
Sure.
low 70s, mid 70s easily. Because
Sure.
that's like a really good game. But I guess that in my mind, I'm trying to think what's causing this problem. Is it because like with Facebook and the internet now, like things are just getting amplified to such a point that they scare people from playing games? Because it's really disheartening to think that a lot of Xbox One owners probably never played ReCore, and they probably never will. But
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're a fan of 3D platformers and you're just not going to play it because now you know it's a 63%, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of games out there people are missing out of that they might absolutely love because they're afraid to take a chance on something. They have their own opinion about something because I feel like review scores now are to a point where it totally determines if someone's going to buy a game or not. Like if it's below a certain number, like so that threshold, for some people it's like an 85. I mean, you kind of see that. If that's below an 85% or 80%, I'm not touching it. And I feel like that's part of the problem with just gaming in general right now is people are afraid to try anything.
Yeah, I think, I think another thing that we struggle with just as an industry, I think, is expectation. Right. So Mass Effect Andromeda is a completely different game. But I think about a game like Mighty Number 9. Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
Did you ever play Mighty Number
I
Nine?
never did. I almost backed on Kickstarter. I was so close to doing it. But I guess
mean,
that's a good example because that's why I was really excited for it and just never got around to when the review scores. So I'm kind of part of the problem.
yeah, you're part of the problem. Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
Mighty Number Nine was not great by any stretch of the imagination,
Mm-hmm.
but it was well above average, and it had some good things that it did. But the point was our expectation of Inafune is Mega Man, right? Like
Sure.
the bar is Mega Man, so anything just shy of Mega Man is a disappointment. Anything not near as good as Mega Man is a travesty.
Right.
And and I mean he's not gonna do that, right? My grandpa used to tell me, even Babe Ruth struck out sometimes.
Sure.
It's just like the idea is that it's not every developer, even the I mean Shigeru Miyamoto made Wii Music.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, like
That's a good example. I didn't think about
nobody's
that.
immune to making a bad or a mediocre game.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times those games are brought to a much lower place because of the expectation put there.
Sure.
And Mass Effect is a perfect example. Mass
Yeah.
Effect is one of the highest rated trilogies of all time. Mass Effect 2 is on my top 5 games of all time.
Yes.
Like I love
so
Mass
good. So
Mass
good.
Effect
Yeah.
trilogy. And I actually really liked 3. I know there's a lot of controversy around the ending, but I really liked 3 as well. But so the expectation for that team taking off whatever it was 3-4 years, whatever the development time was, and then to relaunch a new Mass Effect game, like that expectation is through the roof, and
Right.
it's almost unfair to even everything that you hear is compared to the last game. Oh, well, they don't do this for
Right,
Mass Effect,
right.
or they do this and this is different for Mass Effect, or the facial animations weren't as good as Mass Effect 3, or the character development was as good as Mass Effect 2, or whatever it is. But it's all in comparison to what maybe a fantastic game, and
Right. And I wonder if because of the way video games are presented now, right? Because we heard about that how many E3s ago? So there's all these years of this hype building for this game. They released a little
Sure.
trailer here. They released a little trailer there. And I think in today's day and age, people build their hype up too much because not only are they building their own hype in their minds, they get on the internet and they have all these other fans and all these other people saying this is gonna be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And thinking about how long games are in development now, because games are really, really big, right? And do you think they're just showing stuff off too early, so it gives people too much time to build up hype in their minds? I mean, do you think that's part of the problem?
I do think they're showing off stuff too early, and
Because I also think of Watch Dogs, right? We saw that for years, and they kept saying, this is going to be amazing. This is going to change video games. And same thing, mediocre scores.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: it's not necessarily showing off things too early is problematic, but for this reason, because we all like to be armchair quarterbacks, right?
Sure.
We all like to, if Nintendo was to come out and just say, hey, in 2 years we're relaunching the Metroid franchise. Our podcast is going to spend the next 2 years talking about exactly what that game should be,
Right.
what we want, what we expect, and there gets to be a point to where there's no way that Nintendo can meet that expectation.
Right.
And so by announcing something too early, it just gives you time, especially with not showing you stuff, like just coming out with like a teaser, and it's just like, oh, this game's coming at Red Dead Redemption 2, and we know nothing about it.
right.
Like, I mean, especially now after playing Zelda, the open world in Zelda, my mind of what I want Red Dead 2 to be is just, and I don't know, as good as Rockstar is, I don't know that they can actually achieve in my mind
Sure.
what I think would be an excellent game.
Right.
The other part of this is that the internet is very, very known for bandwagoning.
Yes.
And
yes, so much.
this is funny. So, do you like the New England Patriots?
No. But that's
No,
because I'm a Colts fan. So-
But it doesn't matter. Anybody that's not a Patriots fan absolutely hates the Patriots. Like, that's just the way that it is.
Sure,
Now,
sure.
why does everybody hate them? Because they are the best team in football. They just are. They have consistently. If you look at the last decade of postseason, football, like they are always there. They're an excellent team,
Mm-hmm.
and so everybody wants to hate them. And so when you have a game like Mass Effect come out, you do have a vocal minority that just want to kick against the wind.
Mm-hmm.
They want to stand out and be like, oh man, Mass Effect, that's yesterday's news. That game's going to be garbage. And
Sure.
and that vocal minority does start to create a bit of a storm.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that when Battlefield 1 and then Call of Duty were both announced, Infinite Space War, whatever.
Infinite Warfare, you're right? Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But both of them posted their trailers on YouTube, and there were so many thumbs
Dislikes,
down
yeah.
votes on the Call of Duty video that it was an ungodly number.
Right. But now, actually, speaking of that, though, the funny thing about that, I think Battlefield reviewed better. Battlefield had more likes on YouTube, things like that. But Call of Duty still sold better. So that's a very rare example. The only other example I could think of where showing a game early and taking a long time to build it, but it still gets great scores every time, Rockstar. That's the only company, like off the top of my head, with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, those are the only games I could think of where they showed them off a while ago, and then they got great scores no matter how long they got released.
Sure.
But actually, going off of what you said before, how everyone bandwagons and things like that, I think another problem that we have is we overanalyze things, right? Like, we overanalyze trailers. There are multiple websites, I think it was Game Explained, who took how long was that Mario Odyssey trailer? It was like, what, 2 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
They had like an hour and a half video that was an analysis of Mario Odyssey, literally going frame by frame on that video, saying, we think this is going to happen. We think this is going to happen. And the problem with doing that, I mean, sure, we're excited. We want as much information on that as we can, and we lose patience. So, of course, we're going to overanalyze things. But then we build in our minds that that's truth. This is absolutely there. We know it is. We saw it in the trailer, and then it's not there. Yeah. People flip out.
Yeah, no, I
completely agree. I think it's over expectations, over analyzing, and just the internet in general just kind of being a bandwagon and just teaming up on something.
Yeah. No, I agree. I went almost complete blackout on Zelda, and I actually, at the Switch reveal event in January, when they capped everything off with that like 2.5 minute trailer. I didn't watch it. Like I didn't watch that trailer, and I think that I said kind of with you guys like, they don't ever have to show me that game again. I trust in just like Rockstar could come out tomorrow and say, we're never showing you Red Dead 2. It's going to ship on this date, and I will be there day one. Actually, I'll download it, but I will download it day one, and I will load it up and I'll play it because I like that game. So I actually like to go blackout as much as I can for stuff like that. And what that allowed me to do was Zelda constantly exceeds every expectation I had for the game.
Sure.
And so the flip side of that is that when a company shows you everything that you can do before they even ship the game, and trailers and let's plays and events and things like that, and when you get the game and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what else is in there, and you're like, oh, there's absolutely nothing else in there.
I already knew
they've shown me everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that does make me wonder. We've been doing review scores the same way, pretty much since video games have been out and people have been reviewing them, right?
Yeah.
And over time, like we mentioned, we kind of build up what we think the game should be. But should we, video games as an industry, should we get away? I mean, just to kind of end this conversation, should we end the way review scores are now? Because pretty much what people do now, pretty much what they do, they go to IGN or GameSpot or, wherever they read the reviews, they'll scroll straight to the bottom. They'll look at the score, and then they'll just comment. This is stupid. This is terrible. I hate this. Why'd you hate that? And it's like they don't read the review. They don't watch the video. They just look at the score. And do you think it would be more beneficial if we got away from the score system and just said maybe buy, rent, or wait for a sale, or like doing something like that versus having an actual score? Do you think that would benefit games in the long run?
I think that it would benefit games. if we could somehow entice people to read them.
Sure.
The thing, the
people
thing,
are impatient.
sure. The thing about scores is that that's what people are going to check, right? Mm-hmm. And if the score is interesting, it may prompt them to read, the review. To be honest, I would just start giving every game a 1. And then people would be like, "Oh man, I gotta see what they And then you read the review and you're like, "Man, this seems like it should be a 10." And I say that.
I actually forgot. I left that 0 off by mistake. Yeah.
I say that kind of joking around, but that's kind of what it is. But I'll go a step further with Metacritic now. I don't even think that people even check reviews. I think people go to Metacritic, and I think they go to Metacritic for only 2 reasons: to either validate their purchase or to validate their non-purchase.
Right.
They either want to be like, "Oh, see, that's why I didn't buy Mass Effect because it's only a 70," or they want to be like, "Oh, Horizon's a 90. I knew that game was going to be amazing. I told you guys." And it's almost just. Again, it's just a zeitgeist of being part of the vocal, popular opinion, and so I don't know how you fix it. That actually is a question that we probably should answer, as content creators, like moving forward, because I do think that not having context for a score is a very dangerous thing.
Right. And I mean, overall for reviews, I try to get away from just looking at scores and things like that. Because once again, I'm loving ReCore. I think it's a fantastic game. I hope they make a sequel. Because I mean, there's so many ways. I'm like, this is a great foundation. Let's build on it. But now I hear that 63, I'm like, that means people didn't play it because people saw that score, which is really frustrating. But I mean, honestly, like when I was thinking to myself, when I asked you the question earlier, is there any kind of bar that once it goes below that, you probably won't purchase it? And for me, I was thinking probably the upper 60s to mid 60s. That's where I get a little iffy saying, should I buy it? And that's when I start doing research, reading reviews, things like that. But knowing ReCore is 63 and I'm loving it, I mean, maybe I should kind of change my mind. Maybe I should say below 60s. I mean, there's still a lot of really great games out there. Yeah. But okay, guys, what do you think? What review score do you think is too low to even check it out? Where do you draw the line? And how do you want review scores to be done? I mean, do you think we should totally get away, from the scoring system and move into something else? And how do reviews, affect your purchases? Let us know in the comments down below. As for Life of Gaming, make sure to check us out everywhere you can. This YouTube channel, as well as Facebook and Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. So make sure to find us there. But until next time, guys, we are out. We hope you enjoyed this content from the Life of Gaming. If you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe down below. You can also catch our weekly podcast every Sunday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and the Google Play Store. You can find us on Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod and on Facebook. Until next time, we are out.